Greetings and welcome to another edition of The Great Goddess. Praise be to Goddess. Praise be to Goddess. Well, here it is another Wednesday, and happy 4th of July, everybody. This is officially the Independence Day in the United States. And we all celebrate July 4th, and we are glad for our freedoms, especially our freedom of religion, which the Constitution of the United States guarantees. Today's topic, but before I get to today's topic, I would like to issue a correction. I apologize for pronouncing Devi wrong. I've been pronouncing it Devi all along, but it's actually Devi. D-E-V-I is Devi, like Davy Crockett or Davy Jones. But Devi is correct, so I apologize and I correct myself. And today's topic relates to Devi. Today's topic is the Goddess Durga. And Goddess Durga is an aspect of Devi. She represents the crone aspect of Devi because she represents destruction. And the crone aspect of Goddess represents destruction. So Durga is the crone aspect of Devi, but she's also the maiden. And the reason she also represents the maiden is because Durga is said to be a virgin. And the virgin and the maiden are the same. So Durga represents both the crone and the maiden aspect of Goddess. And what do we know about Durga? Why is she important, and why do we honor her with a video today? Well, Durga carries many weapons, and I wanted to make it very clear to the whole world that these weapons are not meant to represent weapons of war. Durga in no way is promoting warfare, and she, even though her legends star her as engaging in warfare, she in no way is meant to condone warfare among human beings or amongst humans. That is not the purpose of her weapons. Her weapons are not for warfare, and she is not promoting warfare. I just wanted to make that perfectly clear. Her weapons are used to destroy our sins. And each of her weapons has a special purpose and represents something special. And I'm going to cover that today, what the purpose of Durga's weapons are. And Durga and Kali, the goddesses Durga and Kali, are both aspects of the crone goddess. And so they're all one goddess, Devi, but they represent different aspects of the goddess, such as the crone goddess. And I'd like to read to you the purpose of Durga's weapons. The sword represents discrimination. And by discrimination, we do not mean racial discrimination. Not that kind of discrimination. The kind of discrimination where you can tell good from evil. That kind of discrimination. So we don't mean racial discrimination. We don't mean the bad kind of discrimination. We mean good discrimination. The ability to tell good from evil is that kind of discrimination. So that's the sword. Now she always carries something else called a chakra or discus. Now, people call it a discus, but it's really known as a chakra. And she holds it around her finger. She has her finger pointed up like this, and the chakra surrounds her finger like a little disc. And this represents righteousness. So each of these weapons represents a virtue, but also it represents the sin that it's meant to destroy. So discrimination would destroy the inability to tell good from evil. The sword would destroy the inability to tell from good or from evil. The chakra or discus destroys unrighteousness because it represents righteousness, so it destroys unrighteousness. This is what she uses her discus or chakra for. The mace or scepter, it looks like a scepter, it's really a mace, represents loyalty. And we know that a scepter represents royalty, but royalty rhymes with loyalty, and there's a reason for that. The reason that royalty rhymes with loyalty is that people were expected to be loyal to their king, right? So royalty represented loyalty, that the king is loyal to his country and the people are loyal to their king. So the scepter or mace represents loyalty, and it destroys the characteristic of disloyalty. So when people are disloyal, the scepter or mace is meant to destroy that characteristic. The mudra. Now the mudra isn't a weapon. This is the one hand that she doesn't hold a weapon in. There's a couple, but she has her hand up like this. And actually it's this hand. It's her right hand. And this mudra represents reassurance to her followers or to her devotees that they have her blessings. So this mudra of the raised hand represents reassurance to her devotees that they have her blessings. And the conch shell in her, I think it's her left hand, her top left hand, she holds a conch shell. And the conch shell represents Om, or the sound of creation. So it's not a weapon, but it's the conch shell is a reminder to us that the goddess is the creator, that she represents the creator of all creation. So it makes the Om sound, which is the sound of creation. So that's what the conch shell represents. The trident represents courage. So she holds a trident in one of her hands, in her left hand. She holds a trident, and the trident represents courage. So the characteristic that the trident is meant to destroy is cowardliness. So the goddess wants us to be brave, and she destroys cowardliness with her trident and makes us courageous. Bow and arrow, energy needed to accomplish tasks. So we all need energy to accomplish our tasks from day to day. And the bow and arrow represent the energy to accomplish our tasks. And the bow and arrow, just the opposite characteristic that the bow and arrow is meant to destroy, is our lack of energy or laziness. So Goddess destroys our laziness and gives us energy to accomplish our tasks with the bow and arrow. Lotus, purity. She holds a lotus in one of her left hands, and the lotus represents purity, purity of spirit. So, actually, maybe she holds it in her right hand. I can't remember. But she holds a lotus. Yeah, it's actually her left hand. It's her left hand. So she holds a lotus, and the lotus represents her purity and the purity that we have to begin to embody to be closer to Goddess. We all want to get close to Goddess, and this is the way, through purity, purity of spirit. And this summarizes all the rest of the characteristics that she tries to imbue us with. The lotus isn't a weapon, but it destroys impurities because the lotus rises above the mud and is fresh and dewy and pure and isn't tainted by the mud that surrounds it. And so this represents purity. And we all want to be purer people. Well, the lotus represents the goddess creating purity in us and getting rid of impurity. Now, the lion that she sits on also represents something. Sometimes she sits on a lion and sometimes she sits on a tiger. The lion represents passion. Passion to accomplish our tasks and to do the things in our life that we need to do. Passion for everything and every aspect of our life. We need passion. So the lion represents passion. And the tiger that she sometimes sits on represents power. And this could be the power of Goddess, or it could be our own personal power, our journey into power. So it represents feminine divine power and the Goddess's power that she shares with us so that we have power to accomplish our tasks. And those are the symbolisms of the Goddess Durga. There's probably more. She probably carries more weapons. In some of her aspects, she has 16 arms. In some of her aspects, she has 20 arms. And she carries more weapons, but those are the basic ones. And so each of the weapons represents a virtue, and also its opposite that it destroys. The opposite virtue that it destroys, the vices that it destroys. So that's what the Goddess Durga represents. And she represents the aspect of destruction because she destroys our sins and conquers the ego. Sometimes she's shown stabbing with her trident a demon, and that demon represents the ego. So the ego is at the root of all of our vices, of all of our sins. And she roots out the ego and leaves us with egolessness. Ramakrishna once said, Sri Ramakrishna said that we could have a small ego, like a child ego. But she roots out the big ego with a capital I that's the you might say the arrogant ego. So she roots out the arrogance in us. And so the ego goes by the wayside and we're left with a child ego or a small I, which is more to the goddess's liking and better for us too. I'm Sarah Jane Alphawolf signing off. Have a terrific week and enjoy the 4th.